A powerful morning to all Muslims. So today let's talk about the problems in Ukraine, which keep getting more and more numerous. But, this is connected to the fact that the time some figures spend in their seats, like deputies and others, is also getting longer and longer. Before we start, I'll show you a video, as usual. And here we can clearly see that the TCC guys have got themselves a special weapon. Obviously, it's for protection from an external enemy, or maybe from an internal enemy, whom apparently the people hunters consider to be the citizens of Ukraine. In this video, which is about a minute long, it's clearly visible that the TCC guy has a bat. It was especially clear at the beginning. And he's actively swinging that bat. That's probably why they're already issuing standard weapons in these very TCC units. I showed the aluminum bats just yesterday. Meanwhile, Zelensky keeps saying that things are better at home. You can watch the video on my channel because YouTube doesn't allow violence and inappropriate language. Just point your smartphone or tablet camera at this QR code here and you'll go straight to the Telegram channel. Or there's a link in the video description, it's the first one there. Go to the Telegram channel and watch all the videos available. The most interesting thing is that there are still people who claim that all these things with the TCC are from Luhansk, that it's a movie from Moscow, and that the actors are just extras. And I'm not joking, this person used to claim that before. They are still claiming that now.
In the early stories about TCK, we've got the full set. No matter where you look, you'll find some video about TCK. By the way, many of them aren't filmed in Ukraine, but are actually filmed in the Luhansk region. There's a whole studio there, everything is set up, and people speaking similarly with a similar accent to pass them off as Ukrainians. There's a complex system at play, and some people even investigated the studio's actors and directors.
In short, producers too, and basically anyone else. A very strange character, I have to say. He somehow landed in the hospital with what they called an injury, but it turned out to be a wound to the liver. You know what caused it. They patched him up, and now he's still performing. Well, and this guy says that the actors look similar, with a similar accent to what if? Well, it's clear that for now, well, in the video it's already clearly shown that this isn't Luhansk. Around the house there are cars and people that many know. Many people know those who are being impersonated, and then after that messages start appearing. But they keep insisting on this nonsense. Honestly, words can't describe what's going on. Today, for example, Ukraine lost the opportunity to join the European Union. Why? Well, because they named that very combat unit after the heroes of the UPA. And Poland immediately opposed it. I think you've heard about this. But today, the president of Poland and his deputies made the following statement. With Bandera, Ukraine will not join the European Union. The Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Defense of Poland, Władysław Kosiniak. Kosiniak-Kamysz stated, again following the sentiments of the President of Poland, that the country will not agree to Ukraine's accession to the European Union if Kyiv does not stop honoring the figures of the OUN and UPA. Specifically Stepan Bandera. He stated this live on air, so this point of view can probably be considered official. According to Delo, Ukraine will face significant problems with integration into the European Union if it continues to use the OUN and UPA as national symbols. Kosiniak-Kamysz emphasized that Poland will take a tough stance and demand that Ukraine stop honoring the leader of the Ukrainian nationalist movement. He also emphasized, and apparently quite rightly, that every country joining the EU must comply with strict requirements, including those concerning historical memory. In his opinion, it is unacceptable to build European cooperation or European respect for individuals or movements that cause pain, rejection, or spread lies about neighboring EU member states. And he stated directly that Ukraine will not join the European Union if it keeps honoring Bandera. Ukraine, meanwhile, is not backing down from its actions and continues to stick to its course. So what can we say? Well, if Poland has made such a statement, now it's not just Hungary together with Mada, but also Europe. And Poland is against Ukraine joining the European Union. Meanwhile, Zelensky is telling us what? Zelensky is saying the following: everything is fine, there is money. Well, more precisely, in my opinion, he started talking about negotiations and suggested to Putin through Lukashenko to start peace talks. Let me remind you, he met with his gang, so to speak, with Lukashenko, and they were all talking about something there. You could say that Zelensky says almost every day that we need peace. I want to do everything like in the beginning. Remember, he was ready to get down on his knees even in front of the devil himself, but then it turned out that wasn't exactly what he meant. He's ready, but for example, not in Moscow and not in Kyiv, but somewhere else where Putin definitely won't go, but Zelensky can. And he's ready to talk about a certain number of topics, but not all at once, so, well, it's the same here. Things didn't turn out the way they were expected. Now Zelensky made the following statement. He probably proposed peace talks, and Lukashenko assured Ukraine and the US that the relay transmitters in Belarus, which helped guide Russian strikes on Ukraine, would no longer operate. Zelensky gave a strict deadline for dismantling those relays. It's unclear whether they were there or not, but apparently they are gone now. And Zelensky sent a message to Putin through Lukashenko on June 26, as far as is known here. So, whether there will be peace or not, in my opinion, it's just another round of you're old, you're this, you're that. Hey, are you going to make peace or not? If not, then we'll keep fighting. That's pretty much how it is, just like in the document that Zelensky sent to Putin back then. Remember, it was discussed that there was a whole lot of stuff in there. Well, it's just a list of insults, and at the end, again, it's like, hey, are you going to make peace? And that's what happened. What happened, happened. Alright, next, why it's difficult right now. A fire started in the Chernobyl zone in the forest. Not because of high temperatures, but because of shelling, somewhere apparently a spark. And hello, fire. In Kyiv and the districts of Kyiv region, as a result, there has been a recorded deterioration in air quality due to the spread of combustion products from the Chernobyl exclusion zone. The smoke plumes formed as a result of large-scale forest fires contain an increased concentration of carbon monoxide and particulate matter. The analysis provided shows that polluted air masses are spreading from such areas of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. The fires started on June 25. Then they intensified. And now in Kyiv, people are being told to close their windows and doors because the emissions are toxic. As a result, the smoke from these very forests is coming straight to you. The situation is not improving right now. In the areas adjacent to the fire zone, plumes of polluted air continue to form. Well, the rescuers are taking action, the firefighters are working, but so far they haven't been able to completely eliminate the sources of the fire. They have managed to put out one large fire near the research department, but in other areas these efforts are still ongoing. And it's also known that the radiation levels are normal. Apparently they checked using a Geiger counter and some other device. It turned out that there are no problems here, and the fire started because of the high temperature. The radiation situation is being fully monitored. But on the other hand, of course, there are radioactive isotopes there that accumulate in plants, but not in such concentrations as to pose a threat to others. Well, either it's really fine, or they're just reassuring everyone. There's no third option, as they say. In my opinion, everything is indeed fine in terms of the radiation situation. It's really fine because, in addition, you can even use your own counter. It's not that expensive nowadays. In the past, no one knew. There were no counters at all. Now you can buy a device on AliExpress for very little and it will show you the results. Of course, it's not going to be super accurate, but at least it will give you a rough idea whether you'll die the next day or not. Next, the power outages are indeed being confirmed. Yesterday in my video, I'll put a link here if I don't forget, I showed all of this. The blackout schedules are coming back. Suddenly, officials are facing tough times. It's summer, and it turns out that it's hot in the summer and air conditioners are running. You can imagine the level of frustration among the officials who just can't cope with these difficulties. In fall, there are leaves and rain, in winter snow, and in spring the snow melts. If you don't clean the storm drains, they clog. If you do, they don't. It's surprising how easily they get blocked. In summer, it's the heat and higher energy use. In winter, energy use also rises. Energy consumption because people keep warm, they don't want to die from the cold, and in the summer they cool themselves down so they don't die from the heat, really. That's why officials have very difficult times. And well, if you're tired of politics, I have a channel without politics. It's a science channel called Americans on the Moon. Here we discuss everything from combating ignorance to various types of construction, including the Anunnaki building pyramids. Up to real science videos, where I talk, for example, about Yellowstone, about life on Mars, about organic matter, about the explosion of a nova, about finding a piece of the moon on Earth. In general, subscribe. And there's also this interesting organism that lives at a depth of 10 kilometers in the ocean, and I talk about it too, so don't forget to subscribe. Due to these difficult times, Ukrainians are being warned about possible changes in... Starting tomorrow, temporary restrictions will again be in effect nationwide, possibly impacting businesses and residents. From 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., power limitation schedules will be in effect for industrial enterprises and businesses. During this same period, hourly power outages will be introduced for all categories of consumers. So, basically, they're saying again that in some places there won't be electricity for 3 hours, in others for 5 hours. But we know that later they won't mention this in the news. That somewhere there was no electricity for 20 hours, and in some places there was no power for 3 days. If you complain or don't like it, what will they say? Well, you have to go fight, you have to go to the front because there are only obligations. Well, finally, we also have some information about Trump, some interesting info in general, that he never intended to guarantee any peace. But by the way, speaking of guarantees, where is it? Zelensky is demanding guarantees here. This is one of the funny things happening right now about guarantees. Where is it? Zelensky is demanding guarantees here. Whenever peace is, figuratively speaking, offered to Putin, they demand guarantees every single day. Zelensky said Ukraine will step up efforts with international partners in the coming weeks to secure peace. And here the immediate question arises. What have you been doing for the past 4 years then? Why hasn't the work with international partners been intensified until now? So it's like this so-called ramp-up amounts to 3 days at some conference abroad. They drank, ate, wiped their mouths with napkins and went their separate ways. A month passed, they remembered, oh, we need to meet again, they're tired of it there, wives, families, or actually countries. With Narid, who suddenly wants to eat. Maybe we should go to some palace again, have a nice meal and discuss some issues. For example, well, Buiwal's hunger strike in South Africa, or maybe because of the lack of snakes. Allocate funds for this, hold conferences, and again come home satisfied, and this continues to this day. Zelensky made the following statement this week. Next week we will work with our partners. There are things worth doing to bring peace closer. Obviously they weren't there before. They probably only appeared just now. It's strange. The international schedule will also be busy. International, what was it before? Domestic. What's going on? It's unclear. We're watching. Thank you for watching and for responding to our requests, along with those from coalition members who want to participate. With the coalition of the willing, it seems to me that Zelensky meets more often than with his own wife, sorry to say. And if nothing has been decided yet, how long can we wait for an answer? What is there left to decide? They've been running around for a year already, like fools making a huge fuss over it, and still there is no answer. But if you haven't done anything in a year, even though you're all friends there, friends of friends, and so on, then what guarantees can we expect now? These are just talks for the sake of talking. Nothing good will come of it, in my opinion. Zelensky, however, noted that June and July should be productive for Ukraine, especially for our common goal of ensuring security. Well, I won't even try to comment on that. I don't understand what it means. Why are they productive for our common goal? What? I mean, that's just nonsense. Well, on June 17 in the French city of Vienne-le-Château, the 3-day G7 summit ended, and it became another opportunity to gain support from the United States. Why they didn't achieve it sooner is truly impossible to understand. Well, according to the final statements of the summit, the G7 countries jointly promised to put pressure on Russia's military economy, and in addition to strengthen sanctions against its oil and gas sector. So, new guarantees for new things, everything is new, only the president is old. Well, that's how it turns out for us. So, what's going on with Trump? Trump never intended to help achieve victory, we're told, but Trump's actions helped bring the war closer to an end. Why and how? Because the occupant of the White House, we're told, deprived America of control over Kyiv. By doing so, he gave Ukraine the opportunity to move the war onto Russian territory. Apparently, what is meant here is that now Ukraine is carrying out drone attacks on the territory of the Russian Federation, targeting those oil refineries and all those explosions, while earlier the US and the UK firmly insisted that it was not allowed. Otherwise, it would be considered an escalation. Well, they escalated, and this is what it led to. It turned out the way it did. There was no nuclear weapon. Some strange Oreshnik came instead, and some people even say it wasn't Oreshnik at all, but it arrived. Well, I don't know, maybe it was tomatoes that flew in, or they launched a potato or something. But in the end, there's this kind of sluggish, ongoing, well, I wanted to say schizophrenia, but I mean an exchange of opinions between Russia and Ukraine. They say, we'll show you, here's our response, and the others say, now we'll send a boomerang your way, but it just keeps flying back and forth. Just like how they hunt kangaroos in Australia, that's how it is for us now. The boomerang keeps flying back and forth with comments like boomerang response and wow, that's powerful. Well, that's pretty much it for today on these points. Now it's worth seeing what the cream of Ukraine's political elite think. Do you remember that expert Shah who was shouting? So it's worth seeing what the cream of Ukrainian political analysts think. Do you remember that expert Shah who was shouting? Shah. He was shouting at a journalist, let me remind you, who invited him to the studio and dared, oh God forbid, to interrupt him. And that's when he started yelling like that. Ah, well, let him just dance. Pribogi, 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 pribogi. It didn't work. And as a result, let's watch. You see, let's go in. So, yes.
Under the laughter of this Cheburek stand manager.
So what is the result? Right. Zvitsi, let's go in. The character with the serious, complicated face says, thank you for watching again. Thank you for watching. Let's take a look at this character with a serious, complicated face. Once again with that same net. I have my own protective gear too. Now I'll urgently become a war correspondent. So, he declares what he declares, and this offends Putin. Da.
Let's not forget about Putin's age. He forgets things, he wets himself, and they're trying to do something nice for him and this daughter, besides the prism.
Well, this needs to be reported on Central Television. This is Channel 5. I think it's Poroshenko's channel. And there are people like that there. Well, that's how it is.
The Lord will hear us, that when Putin, or rather the Russian Federation, finally loses, Putin simply won't see it. Do you allow for the possibility that this could happen? If we want to win, I'll say it again, we need people, armed forces, and defense forces. So I want to take this opportunity to invite everyone to join.
Well, I joined. I understand that it's nice to talk in your own kitchen with this little net about how everything is more powerful, stronger, and all that. But first he should have joined himself and sent a photo not from a barbershop, or rather not after a barbershop, but from the front. But everyone does this. It's not that they're doing something wrong, that's just how they do it.
That's in the defense. There are a lot of vacancies. Well, basically, there's nothing better right now than living and killing Russians. It's just...
Yeah, basically, that's the word. Let me remind you immediately, there's this barbershop character with Kalis. He somehow sprayed some dirt on his face. Again, he left his beard, everything, his perfect hairstyle, everything. And he said that he and the guys were at the position. And there they fought the enemy. It was filmed near Kyiv. They have a special location there where they grill kebabs during breaks and film themselves. You know, in situations like that. But that dirt on his face, that was really something, of course. And of course, there are a few more people like that. There are a lot of them these days. For example, the blogger Bobarenko. He immediately got out of his garage. And now he's claiming that Russia won't last long.
I don't have that info. Russia won't succeed. No way it'll last 5 years like this.
Why shout like that, my God?
Even 3, even 2 years, they couldn't handle it. Europe clearly showed Russia that we can...
Europe made its stance clear, but I don't think Europe itself is doing well. Not everywhere, of course, but even Germany isn't feeling very well there.
Support Ukraine clearly. But can you last 2 years? Can you outlast Putin? No? Then freeze yourself.
They're so menacing, I mean, I don't know, waving their hands around like that, but we have basically a secret agent in the form of Vico Vuikos Polonini. He looks into the distance and sees Crimea, and in Crimea he sees, he'll tell you about it now.
If the Ukrainians do land after all, then what will happen? What will the situation be with these newcomers? What to do with them and so on? After all, that's 1 million people. They're leaving from there. But of course, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Maybe I'm confusing wishful thinking with reality a bit.
I didn't understand anything. It's very interesting, but nothing is clear. This guy, Vikos Polunin, he often speaks with tongue twisters, something like that, just without commas, without periods, yeah. And separately, his words, the phrases don't connect at all. It turns out to be something like that. And about Crimea, some newcomers, what's going on, it's not clear. Well, think about the last character. Let's see, he shouts no less than the others, really? Let's see. Let's listen to what he wants to say.
Not signing a contract with the Russian army.
This character is in Austria with his little flowers, as I recall. He left long ago and refuses to go to Ukraine, yet constantly talks about draft dodgers. One of these draft dodgers, Omelian, has already been charged with a criminal case. But apparently this one is next in line. That's the kind of people they are.
This isn't like a war defending your country, like Ukrainians. And what about his son?
Defending, and what about ...
And what about Matvienko's son? And where is Solovyov's son? Which front is he on?
And what's that got to do with it? Well, that's how we talk about Ukraine. If Bereza's interested in Russia, then let him go and figure it out. But in general, we're talking about Ukraine.
The entire Russian elite is removed from this process.
Well, look, that's one side, okay? But we're talking about defending Ukraine. Bereza, not Russia. You mixed up the sides, the cardinal directions. Get a compass. Ukraine is over there, a bit to the west. Ukrainians fighting on the front lines aren't interested in Russia in terms of who is defending it or not. They see contract soldiers. And what Matvienko's son is doing there, no Ukrainian is interested in at all. That's very strange rhetoric. Like, oh, our deputies' sons are abroad, and theirs too, look at them. But nobody cares what's going on with them. The people who are fighting, they look at what's happening here, Bereza.
We have edits from deputies in all 5 versions.
Where? In the Monaco battalion? In the barber shop? Somewhere over there, the journalists looked the other way. Yeah, yes.
Even the ministers themselves. Do ministers fight? The Minister of Infrastructure, Emelian Bovak.
But he fled abroad. He's accused of evasion. Specifically, he's accused of lying about his military service. In fact, he did things there that he shouldn't have done. And the fact that he fought in the trenches there, they showed how he wrapped his leg with a single thin bandage and claimed that a bullet shattered his leg bone.
Finance Minister Uminsky is fighting right now. We have, quite a large number of deputies. The previous parliament fought.
But where are they fighting? On which front? The Cheburek front, the barbershop front, the alcohol front, so the enemy doesn't get it? Honestly, I don't know. But alright, apparently Bereza knows better tomorrow. And that's how things are for us. That is, the situation isn't getting better or worse. So far, you see, it's pretty much the same day after day. And the rhetoric is about the same. If things used to change before, now it's like this. But nevertheless, there are certain changes on the front, and most likely I'll talk about this in the evening video because of the situation. So subscribe to the channel, don't forget. And we wait. Peace to everyone. Goodbye, everyone.
Sign the contract, build team relationships, remove the position. Otherwise, all the civilians are afraid that all the blame falls on the infantry. No, there's enough. There's enough work. We need everything.
We don't go to work out of some kind of obligation. It's a joy for us. That's what I'll say. We arrive, and it's a completely different world here.